What's up, YouTube family? Real quick, if you could just like, comment, subscribe, that helps out the show so much. Now, let's get into it. If someone cheated on you consistently and you keep taking him back, he's going to respect you even less and he's going to cheat on you even more because you're enabling his behavior. You're seeing that it's okay to do so. And you're putting yourself in a position where you just become smaller and smaller and smaller. Well, he'll take advantage of you more and more and more. So you may be thinking he's going to change this time and it's going to be different. No, he's receiving it as, wow, this chick really doesn't respect herself.
The SelfHype Podcast.
What's up, everyone? My name is Eli Vasquez. I'm the host of the SelfHype Podcast, brought to you by Chobo Studios. And this week is an emotional one. It's a deep one, and we're going to dive into it. Is a cheater always a cheater? Is a cheater always a cheater? We're going to dive into cheating, what men think about cheating, the psychology behind it, and how for you to process these emotions and ask yourself the hard questions of should I stay or should I go? Or get confirmation that if you did leave, this is the best decision you ever made, ever. All right? So it's going to get a little heated, it's going to get a little emotional, but it's going to be fantastic. And I can't wait to dive into it. So let's go. Welcome to another episode of the SelfHype Podcast. So happy to chat with y'all. I am currently in Denver, Colorado. I am in my grandmother's gorgeous sunroom, which has a lot of plants, a lot of Mexican decor. I've been coming here every summer since I was a little kid, and I'm visiting because your boy is a bridesmaid. Gang. At the moment of this recording, yes, I'm going to be a bridesmaid in my aunt's wedding in Croatia. And so I'm doing bridesmaid duties. Don't worry, there's no strippers with my aunt. That'd be a little ox. Luckily, I didn't get invited to the bachelor party, so I'm happy about that. And I'm waiting to get my suit fitted, and then we're off to Europe because she loves that Croatian man of hers. And I'm so proud of her, and I'm so happy. And it's so sweet because we grew up together. She's only 2 years older than me. So we went to like middle school together at one point. It was like a little funny. Latino families, everybody. So, but it's nice to be around family. It's nice to do all this. Obviously, we have our podcast schedule, so it gets a little chaotic. But other than that, I'm here. And I'm excited to head to Europe and rest my spirit. And if anything, make content out there and connect with some of my European baddies, my European self-hypers. So if you're a European self-hyper, holla in the comments or give us a like and follow and all that. Either way, I want to jump into it. I like to do like a little check-in with me. And let me know if this works or not. Are you like, Eli, I don't give a damn. I'm sitting on the toilet. Just tell me like it is. This episode is about cheaters. Once a cheater, always a cheater. Cheater, pumpkin eater. And we're talking about a different type of pumpkin on this episode, if you know what I'm saying, son. No. All that to say is that cheating could be very much one of the worst possible things you could do to somebody. And by making my content and seeing the question a lot is like, is once a cheater, always a cheater? I see it constantly. And there's so much to dive into psychologically, so much to break down, so much to kind of discover in terms of this. And what I want this intentionality to be is for you on the perspective of someone who got cheated on. So as we go through this talk, as we go through this episode, I want you to really challenge yourself in terms of, okay, does this apply to me? Has this something I've gone through? Okay, based on these understandings, where do I sit with it? And have that really come into Jesus conversation with yourself in terms of, do I stay or do I go? What's up, y'all? I know you guys are enjoying the show, but real quick, I just want to talk about the Patreon. Patreon, you get early access to episodes, bonus content, and you could even ask a question that gets on the show. It's patreon.com/selfhype. Now, let's get back to it. Do I stay or do I go? Because a lot of times you want to listen in because your dusty, musty, crusty, busty ex of a man cheated, and you want to know why. Maybe get a little introspection and some affirmation, confirmation of your decision to move on, which if you did, congratulations, boo-boo, I'm proud of you. And then second, maybe you're with someone that's trying to come back. Maybe you're with someone that's asking for forgiveness. Maybe you got kids. Maybe you got marriage. Maybe you got a mortgage. Maybe you got something that's like, we got to work through this, or at least try to. And hopefully this could be some sort of value that I give you in the process. So this episode is all about cheaters. Cheater, once a cheater, always a cheater. And I want to dive into the psychology behind cheating. I want to dive into why men do it. I want to dive into how to weave your way through this space and hopefully get to a decision that serves you ultimately. So first and foremost, why do we cheat? And people say, why do men cheat, Eli? I'm like, listen, besides us being pumped with testosterone and literally having to wear sunglasses so we don't get caught looking at butts, it's a natural human response in terms of testosterone and butts and all that, but it's all about control, which is very much about cheating as well, of like, would someone want to hook up with someone attractive? Sure. And you can't, and before you get upset with me, like, oh my God, men are dogs, you know damn well there's some hot ass men that you would holler at as well. Don't tell me when Chris Hemsworth comes on with his loincloth on, with his cape, with his muscly muscles on the screen, you don't feel some type of way. And don't get it, don't even lie to me. If Chris Hemsworth comes over to the Wendy's you're managing and comes in and say, what's good, shorty? Let me get that baconator. You know what I'm saying? You know damn well you'd be like, all right, daddy, let's go. Like it's natural to have attraction towards other people, is what I'm saying. But what is not okay and what is defined in terms of self-respect and standards is what you're actually doing about it is the important thing. And that is what you want to keep in mind. And so in terms of that, it's really crucial that you're self-aware of the fact that where do you align in terms of this? Where does that person align in terms of this? Are they, because it's okay to want something, but it's not okay to do something about it every time. And that's where we gain self-respect or we lack respect or lose respect with other people because it's the easy decision. Anyone could go holler at anyone. Anyone could go hook up with anyone. Anyone could do anything with anybody. But should you? Does that make you feel good about yourself? Does that correlate to who you want to become? Does that garner any self-respect whatsoever? No, these are all terrible characteristics. And why I'm hitting on these terrible characteristics, because if a man decides to do these actions to cheat on you, it says everything about their character as a man and not about your self-worth. Because men have a choice. Men have a choice to end it with you properly or disrespect you through various different actions. And know that there's nothing you could have done. There's nothing you could have said. There's nothing you could have tried. Beyonce got cheated on, for Christ's sake. So don't be so torn up about the fact that it's something wrong with you. You are fantastic. And yes, there's some people that they're meant to break up with you. You're not meant to be with them, but it doesn't mean you're meant to get disrespected. And that's something to always hold on to. So as we jump into it and as we do this, it's really important to be self-aware of all of these things. So now I always say there's a difference between a cheater and someone who cheated. Now, mind you, both are terrible. Both are bad. If someone is cheating, they are literally doing decision after decision after decision after decision to hurt you without even considering you. Cheating is awful, yes, in the act itself, but also the fact that he had to find someone, see that they're attractive, reach out to them, start flirting with them, lie constantly, coordinate seeing them, and then actually doing the deed and all the process of that. And I say that to really hammer in if you are trying to take back some dusty ass man that you shouldn't take back, because those are multiple decisions that he made out of the expense for you. Because he knows damn well if you found out about any of these things, you would be hurt. But he didn't care because he was choosing himself out of his own selfishness versus you. Now, I also, based on is he a cheater versus cheated, is people have cheated. Everyone has cheated at some point. Yes, I have cheated as well. Am I proud of it? Hell no, I'm not proud of it. It angers me because I come from a womanizer background of my father, of my grandfather, and the man before him. I'm Puerto Rican, for Christ's sake. We already get a bad enough rap. So that weighs on me in terms of that action that I've done. And I hurt someone in the process. And it hurt me because I felt so awful because of it. Now, it's a moment that could happen based on you not being responsible enough to communicate your issues. Because a lot of the times, say if someone cheats, man or woman, it doesn't matter. They say, well, you don't communicate to me enough. You don't talk to me enough. You don't engage with me enough. You don't, whatever enough. And there's always some reasoning that leads up to it, but that easily could have been discussed and it could have been ended. But you were just too scared to have the communication. So it just turned out into this thing, right? So again, it always comes down to, is this a weak moment? And then maybe this is something we could work on potentially? Or is this a chronic habit that you have without remorse? Because if you have someone that is a consistent cheater, this is something they normalize as normal. Normalize as normal, that's a word. It's something they normalize as just a function that they have. And they're willing to put themselves in delusion. They're willing to consistently play as the victim and consistently make them out to be the good guy, even based on this awful decision. And that's so much deep psychological turmoil that you shouldn't have to deal with. You shouldn't have to receive. You shouldn't have to normalize for yourself. A cheater who is trying to change is going to take way longer than someone who had a moment to be cheated. And I'm sure someone's listening to me that has cheated before and they felt awful and they would never want to do it again. And it was such a singular moment and they're not proud of it. And it's going to be a blip on their resume forever. That sense of shame, that sense of guilt says a lot about who that person is. The other person who's a chronic cheater is that's where we kind of get into narcissism territory. And I use that word lightly. You notice through all my content on my podcast, Eli never uses the narcissist word. Never, because it's so easily thrown around. But if someone could normalize such awful action and still play the blame game, ooh, that says everything about their psychological concern. And I really want to hit on that fact because a lot of the times why you're probably even listening to this podcast, you're trying to figure out why they do what they do. Where does it come from? But I'll say this right now, even if I told you all the answers, does it still make you feel safe? Even if I told you exactly why he cheated, will it change or make any difference in terms of your own well-being, your own self-worth, your own security in yourself and with this man? No, it wouldn't, because he still did a disrespectful action that totally derails the trust in the relationship. So realize the fact that you're not even going to fully understand. We're going to break some things down. I'm going to go deeper into it, but there is going to be a world where you just don't get it. I hung out with him. I was there during his hardest days. I rubbed his toes after work. I sucked his toes on the weekends, and he still did this. You're going to keep going through this. But the big thing I need you again to remember is the fact that that does not correlate to your self-worth or what you did or didn't do. This was his action. And then also, two, is that you need to see if a man does something that is so substantially out of pocket and he has the audacity to defend himself or even normalize or maybe do multiple times. I need you to see that as someone who likes to drop kick dogs at a dog park on the weekends. Say you go on a date with someone, a guy's gorgeous, whatever. Yeah, I like to drop kick dogs on the week. That's just what I like to do. Are you going to understand that? He could explain like, oh, it gives me joy. You know, when I was a little boy, I used to drop kick dogs in the face all the time. So even if you knew the whole reason, would that be like, okay, I'll date you? No. So don't get so hung up on the reasoning because there's never gonna be a feeling based on you knowing. I need you to see him doing this as a disrespectful action. That is not okay. And if someone does stuff that's so out of pocket that we can't understand, that's how you know we shouldn't be with them. That's just the clearest sign is that that's confirmation. If someone who represents you and is your partner is doing things that are so ghastly disrespectful that you would never do in a million years, that's how you know. I can't even understand this person. That's how you know. So the deep psychological reasoning of a cheater. So once a cheater, always a cheater. So if there's someone who cheated, who had a moment of weakness that maybe you could work on, and then you have a cheater that does this chronically, which they're going to cheat on you again and again and again and again. And I will say this for my cheaters, if you do take him back, if someone cheated on you consistently and you keep taking him back, he's going to respect you even less and he's going to cheat on you even more because you're enabling his behavior. You're seeing that it's okay to do so. And you're putting yourself in a position where you just become smaller and smaller and smaller. Well, he'll take advantage of you more and more and more. So you may be thinking he's going to change this time and it's going to be different. No, he's receiving it as, wow, this chick really doesn't respect herself. And I could take full advantage of it. And if anything, that helps me dive deeper in my delusion that this is okay, that this is fine, that this just happened. I'm still here. I still love you. So why are you complaining? So it's really important to kind of digest that and be aware of that. And if you are going to take a cheater back, you need to be aware of the fact that you are in quicksand. It's just trying to get out of quicksand every time you take them back. You're just going to deep deeper and deeper and deeper. Versus someone who cheated and had a moment, that's maybe something that you could look at. The cheated is still hurtful. It's still painful. It's still a moment. And I always say, if you don't have marriage, a mortgage, or a mother, if you don't have the 3 M's, it's going to be really hard to have that oomph to keep going forward. Because at least I'm like, okay, we got to work on this, at least for something. But if you are going to make this work, you will never forget. That's just the reality of it. You could forgive him, but you will never forget. You will bury that, but you will never forget where you buried it. And he knows that too. Now, if you are going to take a guy back and you're going to try to work on it, it's both of your guys' responsibility to figure this out. And you may think it's his responsibility. He's the one that hurt me. He's the one that did me dirty. He's the one that should. I get where those feelings are coming from, but he needs to know how to make you feel safe. He needs to know how to communicate with you. He needs to know the actions to get out of this damn doghouse, which he's going to be in. He's going to have one foot in for a very long time. So if you are going to take him back, if you are going to work on it, you have to live with the fact that you'll never forget where this is buried. And he has to live with that fact too, because the relationship ain't ever going to be the same, unfortunately. You guys could rebuild, you guys could grow, but you guys are going to be a lot more blunt. You're going to be a lot more honest. And there's always going to be something in the back of your head that's going to just get you. And if you can live with that, then let's keep it moving. But it's really important that you sit down with the fact of like, what does he need to do to make me feel safe? What does he need to consistently do? Because the contract has changed, boo-boo. If you hurt me in this deep way and you try to come back, yesterday's price ain't today's price. We're Fat Joe right now. Yesterday's price is not today's price. All right. So we need, what are the terms and conditions of this contract before you sign it? Because you could come crawling all you want, crying, like, I'm sorry. She's a stripper. It was supposed to, I paid her, so I guess it's technically okay. I don't know. No. These are the terms and conditions before you sign the contract. Can you do that? Because this is what I'm going to expect going forward. And it's his job to do that consistently, to show I'm sorry, I'm learning, I'm going to do better, hold me accountable. That's what it is. And I don't want to hear no, you did things, I did things, you did kind of upset me a little bit. That's not taking any accountability. If he is doing that, you should run. I was going to say that point blank because he could hurt you that deeply, can't take full accountability. What the hell are we doing? Keep it moving. So if you are going to work through it, these are some things you got to be aware of. And he has to be consistent. You're allowed to have your low moments and to pop off once in a while, but you are agreeing to be with him. You are agreeing to find somewhere to bury this. And again, you're not in the process to forget, but you are getting in the process to forgive, to see that next stage of the relationship and see if you guys could get there. And again, I know you're probably listening to this and be like, how are you going to do that, Eli? He had his chance. Forget him. It ain't going to happen. Forget all that. Da, da, da. I mean, good for you. By all means, there are people out there that won't do it. And for everyone that's telling me, oh, all men cheat, Eli. No, I don't think all men do. That's pretty blanket statement. I think men probably would think about it. I'm sure men probably see some shorty be like, damn. But it's called self-control. It's called discipline. It's called all that. All right. Like, just if that's the case, then maybe you shouldn't be in a relationship. That's where you kind of got to check yourself, because I'm pretty sure no one wants to get cheated on. So why would you do that to somebody else? And easier said than done, right? But it's really important that you look in the mirror and kind of see that. I want to dive in a little deeper on why men do what they do. So why a man's going to cheat. I think a big thing about a guy too is that there's not as much emotion behind the hooking up. There's not as much emotion of all this, because I think a lot of my clients and people I talk to that are ladies, well, do they love her? Do they love her? I get that a lot. Well, he cheated on me with this girl, so does he love her? Does he love her? Does he want to be with her? What does she have that there's all this comparison. I mean, the big thing is the emotions, right? The good news for ladies that are worried about the emotional state of that guy is that they ain't no emotions. He's just getting it. He's just getting it. He's just getting it. The pros and cons of a guy, I'm like, oh, they're so gross. They just like ass. Yeah. I mean, but the good news is he's not necessarily emotionally involved with her. And if they do end up even dating after the breakup, I promise you it ain't going to work out, because a man does lose respect for a woman that was the side piece. If she knew, ain't no way he's going to stay with her. And and if anything, she's also going to get some anxiety of being with a man who cheated on his girlfriend. What's up, y'all? I know you guys are enjoying the show, but real quick, I just want to talk about the Patreon. Patreon, you get early access to episodes, bonus content, and you could even ask a question that gets on the show. It's patreon.com/selfhype. Now, let's get back to it. So I know for my people that are hurt and that are maybe struggling with a cheater right now and thinking, I'm in bed alone while they're together, girl, I'd rather have you be in tears. I'd rather have you be crying. I'd rather have ice cream all over your sweater from that tennis workout you did at work. If you have a cheater X that's with the current partner they cheated with, and they're in bed right now and you're in bed alone, I'd rather have you here than with him. I'd rather have you in tears. I'd rather have you have ice cream all over your shirt. I'd rather have you with that top messy bun up, with the makeup running in sadness. You're right. I'd rather have you here, because ain't no way that relationship's going to work, because he's going to lose respect for her because of what she did. of being the other woman. She is nowhere ever going to feel safe with this man because of what he did. In the moment there, she has her ego inflated because, ooh, he chose me. But best believe once they're going to have their rocky moments and they're going to have their issues, she's going to be worried that he's going to cheat on me like he cheated on her. And when he's asleep, she's going to be looking at the phone. And while she's asleep, he's going to be looking at her phone because, well, if she's willing to be a side piece, who says she's going to be a side piece somebody else? I lost respect for her. I lost respect for him. And they're going to play house for as long as they can. But there's going to be a whole lot of deep-seated anxiety behind it because they chose a moment of ego out of self-respect. And although you're crying now, I'd rather have you be in this era of growth and healing and understanding for yourself and really choosing you right now and finding a partner that you should be with than being in bed with that. Because most of the time it's not emotional, it's just ego. A lot of men that will do those things is because they lack the sense of self-security in themselves. Because they have a woman that likes them. This is seen as rare. Oh my God, she thinks I'm cool. I got to take advantage of this moment. Yeah, I got a girlfriend. It's fine. It's fine. But oh my God, a girl likes me. What does that say about a man? To willing to break, potentially disrupt a relationship for the sake of a moment. And I think that really tells me that they lack any self security. I will say, in my most ratchet, when I was in these streets, when I was in these swamplands, I was my most insecure. I was my most insecure. My drive was to holler at ladies because that was my external source of validation because I didn't feel it in myself. So I had to go out there and get the damn thing. So if a man's trying to get extra, that means there's a lack of himself. And his time, his body, his space is not precious. His life is not precious enough because he needs this external validation versus a man who knows he has this security. Because now I've done the work. I've used to be crazy disorganized attachment. I've done the work. I ain't perfect, but I know my time is precious. So it was really hard for me to get out of bed to go on a date, let alone, oh my God, a roster. Jesus Christ. I'm building my business. I'm doing me. I got goat yoga to do tomorrow. I ain't got time for this because I know my time's precious. So again, just to dive a little more in the psychology of why someone would do what they do and why would they hurt someone in that way is they're choosing those singular moments of validation based on that lack of self over a relationship. And again, it comes down to integrity. Comes down to these characteristics that are deemed as so crucial and important in a partner. So if they do cheat, if they do those things, that says so much about them. And it could be a discussion of breakdown. It could be a discussion to discuss through couples therapy. It could be, or it could be a very instilled thing that they normalize. So really kind of see how they move after they get caught. Because a lot of people can't face their shame. They'll get angry. They'll get mad. They'll make you like you're the bad guy or whatever because they can't face their shame. And this is a lot of psychological things that is really not your job to deal with. And by you attempting to try with them, they need to know that they are receiving some beautiful grace that is a rarity. In terms of the cheater versus cheated, and I know there's a lot of people that are going to have a lot of comments on this. It's just the fact that, like, just the thing to remember, and it's just like, I really want to double down on this. Just please, please, please remember that there are 8 billion people in the world. 8 billion people in the world. I know our brains, it's hard for us to fathom those large numbers, but it's important to in this situation. If one out of the 8 billion does something that you would never do, or say some things that you would never say, or act in a way that you would never act, that is them doing you a favor. That is them literally showing you where they are at and what they can give you and how they can love you. They are showing you who they are. So in a way, I challenge you to thank them. Thank them. Because now you have one and you have 7, what, billion, 999,999,999 other options to discover of someone who could love you the way you should. What's important too is why is this such a gift of why people do what they do and they may hurt you, such as cheating, such as ghosting, such as all this, is that again, they're showing you who they are so that you could properly discover and move on to receive the love you're meant to. What makes me, I think, the most sad when it comes to death, when it comes to the cemetery, when I walk along all those things, is people from way back in the day, is not so much like death. That's sad, of course. But the amount of people that never got to realize their dreams, never got to realize their potential, not to realize the love that they should have received, and especially in terms of women back in the day. I know we all wanted old school love. I want old school love, Eli. Your mom, your great great grandma was afraid of Jesus and her man and couldn't even work or vote. So do you think this is the guy that necessarily she wanted to be with? I know Grandpappy was a nice guy, but, and you probably want to be here because of it, but I look at that cemetery and I see a lot of women that never got to receive the love that they were meant to, that never got to be with the person that they were meant to. And the beauty of this hard moment, you may be crying now, this is literally a blank page. This is literally a moment where a diverse in the multiverse, if you will, where you could have been old and gray with this man you were never meant to be with, who was never meant to love you the way you should have. And you could have always wondered, God, what would it be like to be this young again, to have a second chance at love? If I just respected myself, if I just uplifted myself, if I just set these new boundaries, if I just did these things, what could happen? Now you could figure that out. And that's what makes life right now so exciting. And these moments are going to be the most transformational if you let it. And I'm so happy that you're in bed, bun up, Haagen-Dazs ice cream all over the sheets, and tears as well, because I can't wait for you to look back on this day and you're going to see this man. You think about this man, and you're going to say, thank you, because I would never have had this life I have now if it wasn't for this moment. You're the hero of your story. Make this mean something. And the story ain't over yet. What's going to be the next sentence you're going to write on this new chapter? So I just wanted you to receive that, feel that pep talk, feel that energy, feel all that. And I'm proud of you. I'm just proud of you, because you're listening to this podcast to figure some things out. You're listening to this podcast to challenge yourself. You're listening to this podcast to maybe dive in a little deeper. No one does this stuff. Everyone just wants distraction. You're listening to be intentional, and that means the world to me. And I want to give you the most value I possibly can. So if you're listening to my voice, I am freaking proud of you. And as long as you're consistent and authentic, you're going to be fine. You're going to be freaking fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the SelfHype podcast. I'm so freaking proud of you. Again, I'm proud of you for being a part of this and all that. And if you really want to join the community, if you want early access to episodes, you want extra content, you want coaching from your boy, consider joining the Patreon. Patreon's freaking fantastic. So many perks and benefits. And you get a free trial, for Christ's sake. And it's only $5 a month. It's like a cup of coffee versus, what have you. It's like, I don't even know what else is $5. I think coffee's even more than $5 now. So you're getting discounted cup of coffee. And that's a daily dose of Eli once a day. We're hyping you up. Natural high. Not all this regurgitated caffeine you don't need, making you jittery and whatnot, making you get bubble guts. So thank you so much for listening. Really appreciate it. And I'll see you next week.
The SelfHype Podcast.